What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 23 of Gotta Watch 'Em All. I am one of your hosts, Ken Pescator, joined as always by my co-host, Adam Tuttle. Adam, how are you today?
Doing great. Loving these raids.
Yeah, man. It's been a very interesting week. Not a lot of other news besides Go Fest. This is going to be a very heavy Go Fest episode, or Pokemon Go episode. A lot to talk about. A lot happened since Go Fest back on the 22nd. We're recording this today, Wednesday evening, July 26th. So Go Fest was just a couple days ago, and boy, it did not go as planned, and it was kind of downhill from the start, man. It was brutal.
They used Splash. It wasn't very effective.
It was and nothing.
No,
happened.
it did. Yeah, nothing happened. It did nothing.
I'm typically when it comes to the things that I'm passionate about, I'm usually the apologist. Bad movie in a series or something like that. I'll always find the positive spin. Like, oh, the music was good. I'll always figure some way to be positive about it. So, at risk of sounding like a Pokemon Go Fest apologist, I didn't go to the thing, so I didn't spend money to go there or do anything like that. But there's a lot of negative to talk about. And I want to run through it all because it was really a disaster, and it's a major shame because they had everything. It seemed like all the ducks were in a row. Like they seemed like they had their act together, and everything looked pretty good. But early reports that we started getting in the morning, on Reddit, and even some of the media that was there early on the press pass, the event started at I think 9 a.m. the sprint early access would allow. So people would start going in at 9 o'clock, and at 8:30, when the press was in there were people tweeting and stuff that the place wasn't even built yet. Like, the tents were still getting set up. They're still plugging in TVs. And, it did not look too promising in the very beginning. I think someone on Reddit put up like a drone shot of the line that started building around Grant Park. I don't know if you saw that or heard about the line.
No, I saw it.
I feel brutally bad. I mean, like, they allowed people to start lining up at 6 a.m. So some people got there at 6 a.m. And what ended up happening was they didn't have walk-through metal detectors. They had, like, the person with the wand, kind of like old school TSA style, and only one entrance to the whole park. So 20,000 people are bottlenecked to get into one entrance where they're manually checking bags and manually metal detecting, on every person that comes in. And people were in line for 3.5, 4 hours just to get in.
Which is insane.
They missed the first challenge window. Like, they got online, and the first challenge window was at 11 a.m., and they didn't get in until 12:45, like crazy, crazy late. Like, I could not imagine traveling to Chicago, getting there, being so excited to get in, and then it taking that long to just step foot through the door. And the precautions that Niantic took to prevent spoofing at the event were, when you got registered and you walked through the door and you got checked in with your wristband and all that good stuff, you were given a physical QR code, a little envelope that had a QR code. You would scan the QR code after spinning a stop that was within the park limits, and it would unlock the event ultimately for that phone. So this was their way of saying you have to physically be here to take part in the festivities. And it's like, all right, that's fine. But immediately on Twitter, it started blowing up that people couldn't even get the game to fire up to get to the point where they could even unlock the event. So they had like a customer service booth, and the line that started building outside of this thing was absolutely immense. And it just started falling apart from there, like, progressively through the day. And they made a big hype that they're going to be streaming for the first time. They're going to have the event up on Twitch. They had hired hosts. It was going to be on YouTube Live also. And I was able to watch the whole stream, and it was bad. It just did not work out. Like, everything about it kind of fell apart. And as they're streaming and as they're, like, trying to get the crowd hyped, everyone in the crowd is having connection issues to the game, And, you know, we were talking about this off air, but it kind of brought out the worst in Pokemon Go. Like, all the keyboard warriors and trolls, like, all of a sudden felt like they could unleash their fury, and they let everybody have it. It was crazy. They introduced John Hank. He comes out onto the stage, and they booed him like a villain. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, that was awful. Like, I mean, I was more focused on the challenge windows. Like, I was right then and there. I was like, all right. I mean, I know we posted something on our Instagram and stuff showing my alarms, but
right.
I was more focused on that. But any chance that I got to try to log into the stream, like, I loaded it up on Twitch, and it was just that Pokemon Go screen with a bunch of, like, background noise. And in the background noise, at first, I didn't hear anything. Later on in the day, I look it up, and it's just like people are booing, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, there was one of the presenters, someone was like threw a water bottle on stage at her, and it's just the ugly side of the internet showed no, hath no fury, or whatever that saying is, but they were brutal. And I could understand the frustration, but the game ended up having connection issues the entire day. The entire day, top to bottom. You know, there were some people that were only logged in for less than an hour for the whole event, and it just broke down the entire schedule of events, and it broke down the entire in-game or in-park challenge thing, because they're doing these challenge windows and people couldn't log in. So, I don't know. I don't know how I would handle that if I was physically there. I could only imagine. It was tough to watch. I can imagine how tough it would be just to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was there, honestly, Pokemon's all about the people. I mean, like, when I go to events and play the card game, it's always the people at the end of the day. So it's like, I know Pokemon Go is very, like, heavy on your phone. I mean, that's what it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's the community. So I mean, in my opinion, it's like you got to physically meet people that all enjoy this the same way that you do. And that says a huge thing about, you being there just in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the silver lining to this being a destination event. So people are going to Chicago, and they get there the day before, they leave the day after, but all that time in between, they're still there. They're still in Chicago. They're still contributing to the economy there. And from everything I saw online, all that, like, negativity and all that kind of hostility towards things kind of washed away once the day progressed and people left the park. And what Niantic, decided to do was, they were scrapping the schedule of this mystery event being at 6 o'clock, and we all knew that was going to be the release of Legendary. So they pretty much just said, look, we're releasing Lugia. Everyone that's here physically in the park, you're going to get the Lugia for free. It's going to appear in your account. We'll get to that in a second. I don't like that, John Hanke. And then the next thing he says is we're going to refund everyone's ticket price. So everyone's getting their $20 back. Everyone who bought a ticket in the first hand market gets their $20 back.
No eBay refunds for
eBay
$200+.
Dude, I could only imagine. And then they were going to give them $100 worth of Pokecoins in game. So that was their way of saying, like, look, we identify we had struggles all day. This is what we're going to do to try to make this right. And everyone's going to get a Lugia, and we're launching raids right now, and they're going to be here in Chicago, and they're going to roll out worldwide in 2 hours or something like that. And then pretty much right when they made that announcement, I pulled up the game and I saw a Lugia raid and an Articuno raid. Like, they were just everywhere. Like, I don't know how your area was, but it seemed like 1 out of every 3 gyms was a legendary raid.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I was at work, so I did not see anything.
Yeah, see, I got out just as that rolled out, so I'm like driving home. I'm like, I was like, I can't do this alone. The community really banded together in Chicago after the event, and the footage that I saw with people out in the streets of Chicago, playing the game, and it was like a mirror image of what you would think is the ultra cheesy and ultra campy, legendary trailer that, has the big crowds and everyone's high-fiving and stuff. And you're like, oh, it's so produced and it's so fake. And then it's like, then you see it really happening and you're like, wait a second.
No, it's real.
This is exactly what's happening in the trailer. Like, how awesome is that? Like, these people don't know each other. They're from different places, different walks of life. They're all just playing the game. They're all going nuts. They're all out of their minds, excited and, bonding. It was,
yeah, no, this
really
is the
cool.
the best thing to happen. Like, this is exactly what Pokemon Go, like, should be doing. Like, this event has made this a possibility. Like, I've met so many people in the past 2 days just from, being on groups, and they're just like, we're all going here, like, everybody be here. And then you meet those same group of people in another raid, and then it's the next day and they're all still there at another raid. You're like, what? Like, yeah. What are you guys all doing here?
Yeah, that's really the bridge with what Pokemon Go, and I think that's why it will remain viable, and it could take a blow like this where they're going to, take a bath on the money thing, for paying all this stuff out and, the event itself. Like, oh man, they're going to take a bath on it. And it's just very interesting, like how the whole thing went down with the connectivity issues. It's no one has really, we're 5 days away, since the event, and no one's really come out and said, this is this person's fault or this was a failure here. But I'll link a really good article in the show notes. But there's a Chicago Tribune article that had some face-to-face time with Hanky, and kind of, just explains the failures of the day and like what went down and what they were doing to fix it. But the really cool thing is they actually had reached out, to the mobile carriers, and some of the mobile carriers had responses and some, didn't. So it's really interesting because I think Verizon responded just simply saying this was not a Verizon issue. And then Sprint, they were the only ones that brought a mobile cell tower, like a cell on wheels, for the event. And they said that they were within range of their network capacity. And then AT&T declined. And AT&T is the sponsor of the park that's right next to Grant Park, where the Big Bean is. So that was interesting that they have such a local presence, and maybe they're just salty that Sprint has the partnership. I don't know, but I can't imagine Niantic not being prepared for this. And they said that the promotion company that they were using, and apparently this is the same company that does like Lollapalooza. So they're used to doing these big festival style events where, there's going to be an influx of people to an area that, would not see that volume normally. And they gave them the capacities and estimated, load based on, user times usage. And they were told, Niantic was told, that everything was going to be okay. Everyone's going to be within limits. This is going to be a non-issue. And then it was just like the downfall, man. Like, oh.
And so, you saw it all.
Yeah.
Between various YouTubers, but it's all there.
So the one thing that's been, nice about the way Niantic is handling this is they have put out press releases. They're not being bashful here. They're doing the right thing. And John Hanke even coming on stage and kind of admitting the problems and kind of leveling with everyone and, making it not seem like, rainbows and roses, like everything is so fantastic. He's like, look, we got issues here. We understand that. We're working as hard as we possibly can. And he kept it a lot of couth. He didn't call anyone out and just, said we're dealing with it. And I think it was like 4:45 or something is pretty much when one of the presenters came on stage and, for lack of a better term, just threw in the towel. Like, okay, event, we're done here. They extended the range of the event for 2 miles outside of the park. So that's one of the other reasons that, the community was able to thrive outside of the nightlife, because all these spawns and the Heracross and Unknown and, legendary raids were all happening, in that area. So, and the events, the Safari Zone events that are coming up in Europe, they're not like you pay admission and you have to go into an entrance. They're going to be in an open area. So I think that might be a better model for them to hold these events where they just say, look, we're going to have an event in Chicago, but it's not going to take place at Grant Park. It's going to take place in Chicago. If you go downtown, you can take advantage of the event. So I don't know. We'll see how these European events shake out, but oh man, I could only imagine. Like, I mean, I researched going, and I could get round trip airfare for like $250, and an Airbnb for $100 a night. Like, it would have cost me $500 or $600, like, to go and live it up and do all that. And if I spent that and this went down like that, I don't know how I'd feel, because I would think that everything that happened after the event and the way people were able to get out there and play after the event with everything functioning probably would have made up for, the event itself going south. I don't know. It just seems so awesome. Like, it seemed just like the trailer.
It would have been like that for me. I mean, having the sense of community, like, immediately after that, after everybody being so upset and then leaving the park and then everybody banding back together.
Right.
Like, that would have made it for me. Just to see everybody's faces just light up, you know what I mean? Like, oh my goodness, there's a Lugia, and everybody's just darting towards it. Like,
oh, dude, they had like crazy herds. Everyone's running, and when you see everyone catch it and everyone's going nuts, it's like, this. When they made those trailers, man, it's not really. they're not too far off, man. Like, this is really happening out there, and for me, when I went out with Josh and Melissa, and we're going to look for legendaries, and we're just kind of driving around. We're in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and we see one on the radar. That's just like on the opposite side of the lake. So we drive all the way around, and we get there. There's 2 young kids with phones. So I said, awesome. These guys are definitely playing. They're here for Lugia. You guys here? Yeah, oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, we got a couple more people coming. Then all of a sudden, this other dude walks up. Hey man, you playing Pokemon Go? He goes, yeah, I got 5 more people coming. And then within 15 minutes, I think we had 10. And we attempted the raid, and we wiped with probably maybe 10% health left on the Lugia. We just couldn't do it. And then we get, I had posted everything in the Facebook group, and then I got a message on the Facebook group saying, Team Instinct crew is coming. And then all of a sudden, like 30 people came, and we did like 3 different, Lugia rounds. Like, there's 3 different groups that had to get in because of the 20-person cap. And it was just like the trailer. Like, we were all going nuts. We were all screaming and yelling and hollering. My son didn't catch Lugia. He started crying. The emotions were all over the place. Like, it was crazy. But, I was able to catch Lugia, so I was pretty fired up. I caught him on the first ball. Golden Raspberry first ball.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, totally opposite story. I've faced 2 Articunos, and I've missed both of them. I mean, I've taken them down, but missed both of them. Although I'm not upset, because I got, like, 3 charged TMs and, like, a fast TM. I'm like, whoa. That's enough TMs. I mean, I can always use more, but I've also sat for 2 hours by myself, waiting.
When are they going to come?
Waiting for just anybody. I'm like, there's an Articuno. It's the first day. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Well, not the first day, but like the next morning. And then I faced one Lugia. I've only been able to find 1 Lugia, and that we had 11 people and couldn't take it. We got to, like you said, around the 10th percent, like with life, and it just.
Yeah, we ended up beating it with 15, and we probably could have beat it with 12 or 13, but I can't imagine any less than that. And I think the lowest level player there was like level 24 or something like that, and we were very coordinated. Like use dark moves and ice moves, or electric moves, whatever it is, use your golems, like we were really getting focused on what moves to use and everything. And so everyone had the right roster, and with 10, we just couldn't do it. So speaking of Articuno, so I still have no Articuno. So Friday I'm off, and that's my mission for the day, is I got to pull one of these things home. So, one of the blog posts that Niantic put out was letting us know that the 3 birds, Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos, will be rolled out over the next 3 weeks. So Articuno is only going to be here till the end of July, and then the first week of August is Moltres, and then the second week of August is Zapdos. So there's time sensitivity to capturing these legendaries, and I absolutely love the fact that they're implementing like these timed windows, because it just puts so much pressure and anxiety and nervousness. Like, it makes you want to get out there. I think that's such a good motivational tool for, getting people to get out there, especially in the wake of, having this event that's failed, and, the press only picking up on the event itself and not the community and not all that other stuff, all that good positive stuff that we know about. They're just talking about the event itself. So you have all this negativity, and then all of a sudden, the people are still out there playing, because I need to get out there and get this Articuno. I will not miss this Articuno.
I know, I'm the same way. Although I open and close tomorrow, like I have a small window at the beginning of the day. So I mean, if I can manage to find one on my way to work and there's people there, I'm going for it.
You should put up a post tonight in your group and say, hey, I'm going to be in this area tomorrow morning from this time to this time. Someone meet me somewhere.
Well, no, that's the thing. Everybody apparently, they go out early in the morning, and so me leaving my house around 9 is a terrible thing, because everybody else has been out for an hour and a half already, hitting as many as they can.
Right.
Because that's what happened. They're like, oh, we've already hit 2 today, and I'm like, oh, that's my first one.
Yeah, the group that came to the rescue with the Lugia, I was like, all right, let's go get Articuno. They're like, we just came from 2 Articuno raids. I'm like, oh. But it's cool to see, I've been members of the group, the Facebook groups for forever, since the game first launched, but this was the first time I actually saw a real concerted, organized effort, on the internet, of people getting together and, getting out there to play the game. So I don't know, they're doing the right things in the game. The event itself was bad, but I think the players, for the most part, are already over it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't think.
I know that wasn't there, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm getting double everything, so
yeah. So they, because of everything that was unlocked with the challenges, they actually extended this out another 72 hours or something from after the event. So we still have it running right now. But it's, what is it? It's double Stardust, double Candy, double XP, increased spawn rates, hatching distances is cut down.
Buddy distance
is cut down. Oh yeah, so the legendary Pokemon, it's a 20 kilometer per candy to walk as your buddy. So it's no joke. That will be the use for rare candies, is directly putting them to legendary, because I have Lugia as my buddy right now, and even with the reduction because of the event, it's still 6.7 kilometers per candy. So it's whoa, I'm not going to even, make, after the event ends, I'm going to change my buddy out again. And it's all right, with rare candies exclusively, it's not worth the time to walk. I'd rather walk for my Alakazam or Golem or something like that. But I've had some ridiculous hatches this week. I hatched 2 Snorlax and 3 Larvitar. And I hatched the Snorlax and Larvitar back to back, and I got 59 Snorlax candy and then 56 Larvitar candy.
Wow.
So right now, I think I have close to 200 Larvitar candy. So but I don't have anything that has good enough IVs that I want to commit to evolution yet.
See, I've hatched several Larvitars, but never enough to get me to that 100 threshold of candies needed. But I was able to hatch 2 this week, and I added Tyranitar to my Pokedex and Gyarados to my Pokedex.
Yes, you got your Gyarados.
Finally.
That's awesome.
And it's I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go do a quick Magikarp breed by myself before work, And I get it, and it's best it can be. I'm Team Instinct, so it's battle the best of them, HP, defense, and then best I've ever seen. So it's almost perfect IVs.
Yeah, that's nice.
I'm glad I didn't waste my my free raid pass.
Yeah, and I tell you what though, the double Stardust has really helped out a lot, because I've powered up my Golem, I powered up my Snorlax, I powered up my Alakazam, and I'm still over 2 million Stardust. I dipped down to like 198, 1.98, and was able to like edge my way back. And they just turned on the go to gym feature to feed berries to, your Pokemon that are in gyms remotely, and you still get the Stardust when you do it that way. So,
which is awesome.
For me, going to the, Red Bank where I could stock up and overflow, it's like I never will ever have to ditch berries again. I could just truly get rid of them, all, and get a Stardust return. It's like, yes, this is solid. So, I don't know, man. I don't think this is going to have too much of a damper on Niantic. I hope they learn from it in the next event, and, I'll be at the next event for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everybody that I've talked to has at least purchased one raid pass within this week alone, so...
All right, so let's talk about these boxes that they put in. So I bought the highest one, whatever the biggest box was, which is, when they came out with the box last time and it wasn't a value, like you were paying for balls, it seemed kind of weird, because there wasn't a good value there. But these boxes have like major value. So I bought, the highest box, but they're going to, I don't know. I think that people will continue to spend money on this, and I don't think the effects of the event are going to change anyone's spending habit or make them think like, this game is done. I need to stop playing. It's a failure. I think that they're able to keep it isolated to the event, but
yeah,
I don't know. I still want to play right now.
Yeah, me too. Like, honestly, if raids were going on right now, I'd probably be out all night.
I never forget that the second day that the raids came out, I went out with Melissa. We had Josh went to my mom's. We had the night out. I'm like, yeah, let's go do some raids. We're all fired up. And they're like, why aren't there any raids? It was, after 9:00. And this was before people even knew that they were on that timer. So I'm looking online and everyone's like, what's going on? Where are the raids? They turned them off. But I think the game shall prevail. It's going to be interesting to see how the European stuff rolls out. I think everything will be fine. I think it'll be good.
Me too.
Stay positive, people. All right, let's talk about this episode. So this is episode 23. It's entitled Haunter Versus Kadabra, and the original U.S. air date was October 8th, 1998. All right, so the episode opens with the narrator recapping what just happened at the end of the last episode with what happened in Lavender Town, how they acquired Haunter, and how Haunter's kind of tagging along for Ash, as Ash's companion. And Ash makes his way back to that same cliff they got to when they cleared the fog and they were overlooking Saffron City for the first time. So, this is a testament to the focus of Ash. They goes to Saffron City, gets his butt whipped, has to go to Lavender Town, goes to Lavender Town, acquires the ghost, goes right back to Saffron City, and he's ready to go in again. Like, this is the true determination of, a trainer that wants to be the best there ever was, right? So, they make their way all the way back, and, Ash kind of, seriously asks Brock, hey, are you ready to go? And Brock is terrified of the Haunter, and the Haunter is not necessarily threatening looking, like the expressions and everything. Like, it just looks like a doof.
Yeah, it's goofing around.
And, Misty even says, oh, I think it's cute, kind of mocking Brock. Like, what do you have to be scared of? And the Haunter gives a giant lick to Misty right across her face, but the lick paralyzes Misty. And the way they animate it is, really, really funny, because she's, twitching out and everything. It's just really funny. And then Haunter's, super upset. So there's this weird dynamic going on between Haunter and Misty. Ash kind of, gets serious with Haunter for a second, and he's like, look, I brought you here because I need your help to defeat the psychic Pokemon, in this gym. Are you with me? Can I count on you? You with me here? And Haunter kind of gives a signal that, he's in, and Ash is excited. He's like, all right, let's do this. Right back to the gym. And, Ash is kind of having little memory flashbacks of, how not only got his butt whipped by Sabrina, but Sabrina also kind of mocked him. And, you see the determination building in Ash's face, and he's like, yeah, this time the joke's on her. He's so fired up. you know, he kind of like looks towards Pikachu, Misty, and Brock to like, you know, back him up and, you know, take part in this, you know, excitement over what's about to go down. And they're all standing like 20 feet back behind him, like with banners and like signs that say like, go Ash, go Ash. Like again, they're backing up like they want nothing to do with Sabrina.
And like one of the signs or like, I don't know who's holding it, but they both have, they have like Ash's face on it. I don't know. It just looks ridiculous.
It's great. It's awesome. Again, we talked about this last week, how they just throw these little quirky cuts in where all of a sudden there's a different scene set or props or something, and it's like, where'd they get those? And then this stuff is gone. The next camera turn. It's like awesome.
And Ash starts, you know, he's like, Misty and Pikachu. He's like, guys, stop goofing around. And Misty's like, she reminds Ash, you know, like, he's like, do you want to be turned into a doll again?
Right.
Last time, we lost. She turned us into bowling pins, and then Brock chimes in and he's like, and she almost bowled a strike.
Cheesy. It's like dad jokes.
Exactly. And, you know, Ash, being headstrong, says he's got Haunter, you know, and that won't happen again. And Brock, you know, being Brock, tells Ash not to be too sure, because what if it's Haunter that's controlling him?
Right.
And, you know, but Brock's words, they don't faze him. And he says that, you know, him and Haunter are pals. And then Haunter just keeps laughing and keeps like reappearing and appearing again, acting like he's not worried at all. And then Ash is all with Haunter. You know, he's like, with Haunter, I'm guaranteed to win.
Yeah. Well, then now the cockiness kind of starts to come out a little bit. What we're used to.
Exactly. And Ash is ready, and he's like, guys, wish me luck. And then he calls out Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, and then all three of them and Pikachu, they all stand like proud in front of him. And
yeah,
like,
it's like an awesome,
ready to go.
Like the way that they're deployed, like it's so epic. They're like, it's just like a great little, you know, just kind of like almost like a Team Rocket opening. You know, it's like they bust them all out, and they're just like Charmander. It's like they go through all the motions. It's like yes.
And so, at this point, you know, they start to enter the arena to, you know, take on Sabrina for the second time. And they walk right in, and he demands a rematch. He's like, Sabrina, I demand a rematch.
Yeah, he calls her out right away.
And child form Sabrina, mini Sabrina, she says, if he loses again, then he'll have to play with me again. And
she's just as creepy this time as she was last time.
If not more creepy, because you forget about it, and then you're like, oh no, it's actually weird. And Sabrina calls out Kadabra. Ash calls out Haunter, but, you know, Haunter is MIA. Where did he go? And so Ash starts panicking. You know, he's looking all around. And Sabrina, you know, she's being impatient. She's like, demands that the match start or they'll go back to the toy box. Misty says, you know, forget Haunter. Send someone else in. He tries to get, you know, Squirtle, Charmander, or Bulbasaur to go in. And they all like, or Pikachu, and they all like do like a little like Hamtaro move where they're like digga 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 digga. They all move all the way back to the wall, and
they're terrified.
They're terrified.
They're just terrified, and this kind of like look overcomes Ash's face, and he kind of realizes like he may be in over his head again, and maybe he put too much blind faith in Haunter, but it kind of like, you know, it all happens at once, and you could just read it on Ash's face, and he immediately just calls the match. He's just like, that's it. I gotta quit. I'm done.
I quit.
He quit, you know? And it's like, you know, their question, like, where's the courage? Where's the confidence? You know, where's all that stuff? And he
had it 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, he literally just runs out of the room like, I'm out of here. Like, he just goes. Like,
leaves Brock and Misty.
Yeah, they have to follow him out. And, you know, I'm going to refer to her as Lil, like Lil apostrophe Sabrina. So Lil Sabrina is kind of like enjoying this, like as they're running away, and she's like, "Oh, it's fun to catch them," you know, all spooky like. And as they're running for the exit, like she's, you know, telepathically closing the doors in front of them, and, starts messing with them really bad. And little Sabrina uses telekinesis to lift Brock and Misty up off the ground. And this is probably the creepiest thing to date that's happened in the series. But she lifts them up in the air, and when they come down, they're like doll versions of themselves, and they're the creepiest things, man. It's so weird to look at, but they're drawn really cool. Like, they're just super basic, almost like a little Ditto plush version of them.
Yeah, if you had Ditto copy Misty or Brock,
yes,
that's exactly what they would look like.
And it's super creepy. And little Sabrina's like, I'm going to turn the rest of you into dolls. And all the Pokemon hide behind Ash, like they're all kind of like stacked up behind him. And the bearded man, the mysterious bearded man that helped him out last time and told him, about Lavender Town and going to get a ghost Pokemon, he teleports himself back in, and this is like all out of nowhere. Like, there was no mention of him or anything prior to this happening. And he looks back towards Ash and he kind of says, sometimes you have to retreat to win. And he goes, teleportation. And whoosh, teleports them all outside. And it's just like, this dude's the man. He's like bailed him out twice now. He's like saved him from Sabrina twice. And, after he teleports him outside, the camera cuts back towards Sabrina and you see her mouth just like, he's back. So obviously there's history here. When the teleportation wears off, like, everyone's kind of floating above the bearded man, and they all come crashing down on top of him. And Ash is like, Pikachu, get off my back. And the bearded man is not realizing the bearded man is like buried beneath him. He's like, all of you get off of mine.
It's a ridiculous scene, but it's also hilarious at the same time.
It's a very Japanese, like a, little comedic, like har kind of thing.
And then, like, it cuts to, Charmander and Squirtle, like, playing, and Bulbasaur's just relaxing in the back. And then Ash and the bearded man are now sat on a bench talking, and Ash is like, Sabrina is the meanest trainer he has ever, he's like, she's the meanest trainer I've ever met. And the bearded man says, she wasn't always such a mischievous girl. And Ash is all like, wait, you knew her before she changed? And he gets all defensive and, said he's like, I've just heard stories,
Yeah, he's totally acting weird.
And then there's a flashback that starts. It's baby Sabrina. She's bending spoons. She shows her, the scene shows her bending like a whole rack of them, like placed and standing up like on a wooden rack, and then just like destroying it with her mind.
Yes, it's awesome. It's like, okay, she's extra special.
Definitely extra. And then she starts playing with her golf club, and her parents come over and say, that's enough. Like, the dad says that it's not a toy. Ooh, is this the bearded man? Because
exactly. That's the hint.
The hint. And Sabrina gets all demonish. Her eyes glow red, and she sends her parents flying. He tells that Sabrina became obsessed with her psychic training. Shows her just like massaging the side of like the house, and then it collapses.
And then it's the greatest animation ever. She's just like, the thing just destroys. It's great.
And he's like, she wasn't interested in making friends, just developing her powers. Her parents tried to help, but she used her powers to drive them away. As a result, Sabrina split into two girls. The Pokemon trainer that causes trouble, and the lonely girl that is desperate to make friends. The doll she holds represents her true self before her training. He shows Ash a little picture of her as a baby.
But the picture is the same picture that was in the toy box. So when they were trapped in the toy box and she rolled the ball at them to try to like bowl them down, that picture frame that was there is the same picture that the bearded man is showing him. So obviously, as the viewer, we have that connection, and the bearded man is kind of standoffish a little bit because he kind of sees Ash's gears grinding a little bit over the photo, and he's like, I think they even, cut to him, his thought bubble going like, oh, does he realize that it's me, that I'm her dad, and Ash is just so dense. He's kind of just like, he goes, oh, you must be the photographer. Like, he's just so clueless, like that could be the dad. He's just like trying to put two and two together and comes up like, oh, you know her because you took her picture. That's how you have this. And the bearded man is just like, can't imagine like how dumb you could be to not realize it. And he's like, don't you get it, man? And he just like goes, never mind. So it completely went over Ash's head. Like he had no idea that there could have been this connection could have happened. And the bearded man is just amazed at how dense Ash is. All of this is happening, and poor Misty and Brock are still in doll form, back inside. And, Ash tells this to the man, like, well, wait a second, but we gotta go get her, we gotta defeat her. She turned Brock and Misty into dolls. The bearded man says, look, the only way you're gonna be able to save your friends is if you defeat Sabrina. And Ash has no idea how he's gonna do that because Haunter's gone. And the bearded man kind of confirms this with him. He says, look, if you don't have Haunter, you're not going to be able to defeat her. You have to find Haunter. Again, Netflix style, you're not going to see this, but this is where... Who's that Pokemon? It's Haunter! So they kind of cut back into that. Dude, Haunter sounds awesome. Haunter sounds really, really cool. When they come back from that, virtual commercial break, Ash and Pikachu are walking through Saffron City, and they're kind of just like looking for Haunter. And this is like a super urban area, big buildings and all that stuff. So they're kind of just like calling out, Haunter, where are you? That kind of stuff. And they hear from up above them the Team Rocket motto. So Team Rocket is literally on top of them, and they're in like a window washing scaffold that's like pulled down to the side of the building. And they're wearing, I think they're even dressed as like the window washers. So they have like, white uniforms on. But they're still doing the motto. They rip off the costumes, and they're wearing the Team Rocket uniforms underneath. And, Meowth asked them what their secret weapon is this time. And James says, this is a weapon that's been perfected over thousands of years. And he pulls out like a net, like just like a fishing bait net.
Just a simple net.
And Meowth is like, what? This really? And Jesse's like, it's the greatest invention since Einstein invented the light bulb. Now this is weird because again, this is breaking the barrier between what our reality is and what the Pokemon reality is. So that was very interesting that they dropped the Einstein thing. They cut to this ridiculous animation of Team Rocket like dancing and singing over the chicken and an egg, and it's just like it's this bizarre scene of just them going off their rocker, like they're completely off their rails. That makes absolutely no sense. And James says that all geniuses know that the egg came first. Like, so they're arguing over what came first, the chicken or the egg. It's super ridiculous, but Meowth proves my point, and it's just like both of your brains are scrambled because they're talking about eggs. So dumb.
And so, and at the end of that scene, Meowth's like, let's cut the explanations and capture Pikachu.
Yes.
and like, so it cuts to James, and he's just like whipping his net around and around, kind of like a cowboy style, getting ready to aim for Pikachu, only to be startled by Haunter. They're looking at each other, making eye contact, and in that awkward silence, Haunter makes like a ridiculous face, which gets Team Rocket to start laughing and move all erratically, which then causes the scaffold to collapse. And then Haunter's just sitting there laughing.
Now, this is like on a skyscraper, though. So this is like, the side of a big, tall building. So they're not like just a couple feet off the ground.
Yeah, no, this is like one of those, it shouldn't, like cartoon. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but whatever. You would die in real life. James and Meowth are in the hands of Jesse, who's holding onto the edge of the scaffold for dear life. They bicker back and forth on how they're going to get back up. And keep in mind that they are at least 6 stories up. I counted the little windows. Maybe 6 or 7. And they're just going back and forth, and Jesse's like, well, if I let go, we all die, or we're all goners, but if you and Meowth let go... And Meowth chimes in, and he's like, I'm the designated survivor. Like, designated driver? I don't know if that was a play on that.
That's what I thought of.
Jessie says, she's like, I thought we got away from all those horrible ghost Pokemon. It seems like they followed us. And then Haunter appears right next to Jessie's face and tries to get Jessie to laugh. He knows, like, if she laughs, we all die. We all fall. She says, the members of Team Rocket have been trained to avoid silliness and always be serious. And which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I was just saying, how does that work out for them?
Does that actually? Because they're pretty silly on their own. Hunter comes over and gives her one more like hanta hanta hanta, and then she loses her grip because she's trying to hold it in this entire time, and she just starts laughing. She loses her grip and they start falling. And again, keep in mind they're falling off a skyscraper, right. 6-7 stories up, and as they're falling, Jesse's just laughing, and James is like, I really don't see what's so funny. And then Meowth is like, she's gonna die laughing. And then they crash into the ground. They're goners at that point. In my mind, they're goners. In my 10-year-old mind, they're
This
gone.
reminded me of Magikarp Jump. When Magikarp comes down to the ground, it, it like has
it crashes,
the perfect outline of its body, like just straight down 10 feet into the ground. That's exactly what happens to Team Rocket. They just they just go straight down, but with the little cutout shapes of their body as they hit the ground. It's hilarious.
And so, like, they crash to the ground right behind Ash and Pikachu. And, Ash obviously is startled, but Haunter appears next to Ash. And he's like, oh, that was Team Rocket? Thank you, Haunter, for, saving Pikachu from them. And he gives them the old, way to go.
Yeah, it's so campy.
It's like, well, they could be very seriously hurt. And you're just like, I don't care. Thank you. So Ash tries to get, Haunter focused on defeating Sabrina. He's like, are you with me? And then Haunter does one of those, like, puts his hand on his hip, and he's like, he's got his one finger just, like, thinking. And he's like, he has a moment of critical thinking. Haunter decides, all right, I'll take part in the battle. He doesn't want Sabrina making Ash look like a fool again.
Right.
And so Ash says, just help me save my friends and you'll never have to help me again.
The toy box itself, like Sabrina's toy box that's within the gym, which is really spooky because, again, it's like this Beetlejuice-esque, model of, a whole little city, but in toy box form. So they show this toy box again, and the camera pans down into it, and within one of these little houses, these doll houses, are the doll versions of Misty and Brock kind of just chilling on a couch. And they're still able to, like, talk and communicate and all that stuff, but they're just, these Raggedy Ann, and Andy style, just like, little plush dolls. So they're not going anywhere, but they can still talk. And they're trying to figure out, like, what's going on? What happened to us? What will happen to us? And, from the love chair, the love seat that's, around next to the couch, they hear another person talk, and there's a third doll there, and she introduces herself like, oh, hi, I'm Sabrina's mother. And it's like, what?
Her mom? Are you kidding me?
And, Misty comes to the realization, like, well, obviously, Sabrina is responsible for turning her own mom into a doll, and, she's using that information to judge Sabrina, like, whoa, this is crazy. And Sabrina's mom defends her. She's like, wait, don't think of her as a bad girl. She's a really good daughter. And it's like, dude, what? You're crazy. Like, it makes no sense. Just like in the last time they were getting tortured by little Sabrina, she lifts the roof up off the dollhouse and kind of like looks down at them. And, she's like, oh,
aren't my new dolls so cute?
They're so cute. And, she's wondering what game to play. And Brock and Misty are like begging her at this point. They're like, stop. And I love this. Doll form Misty challenges little Sabrina to a battle. She's like, if I win, you gotta change me back. And Sabrina's like, if I change you back, you'll just run away. Like in a super creepy voice, of course. She's like, I want to keep you as my dolls and be friends forever. Like, it's just super creepy. The expressionless faces that are kind of stitched on to these little plush dolls of Misty and Brock, the little ditto faces. It's like, they're, you just can't see what's going on in their mind, but it's just like, oh man, like they're totally in trouble. And right as this is happening, Ash kind of like busts into the gym, and Sabrina's like, I knew you would be back. Even though he got his butt whipped really bad once, had to forfeit the match twice, Ash busts into the gym. Sabrina's, says to herself, like, oh, I knew he would be back. And Sabrina asks him, like, are you ready for some more humiliation? And Ash has got his confidence back. He has his courage back. He kind of like plants his foot in the ground and he's like, Brock and Misty are my friends. I'll never leave them behind. I'm willing to risk myself being turned into a doll to, save them. And Sabrina's like, all right, now you're speaking my language. She calls for a one-on-one battle, just like she did in the last, the last time he was here, and immediately brings out Kadabra. And Ash is confident and says, all right, I'm ready this time. Calls out Haunter, but once again, Haunter does not show up. He's MIA again.
Yeah, just like last time. And, Sabrina, she just forfeit.
Exactly.
And Lil Sabrina says, my new dolly. And just as Ash gives up on and accepts that Sabrina's going to turn him into a doll, he's just like, kind of like, he's on his knees, just sloped down, like, all right, she's going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to be a doll. Pikachu jumps into the battle, and he's like, Pikachu, Pika. And Pikachu doesn't want Ash to be turned into a doll, and Ash is like, wow, thank you, Pikachu, for fighting for me. Pikachu starts the battle with a Thunder Shock, but Kadabra dodges all of his attacks with teleportation. And then Kadabra follows up with a Psybeam, which confuses Pikachu, and then, like, gives him the swirly eyes, and then he just, like, topples over and just goes doodle doodle doodle.
Yeah,
like, falls backwards. Ash, he's like, Pikachu, keep going. You gotta get up. And Pikachu gets up, and he's like, hit Kadabra with a Thunderbolt. And with a direct hit, which, I mean, this Kadabra, it looks like it's gonna get knocked out,
Right.
And when it cuts after the Thunderbolt, it's like, he's done for. Like, he is toast. This has done, like, a lot of damage. Sabrina just goes, Kadabra, use recover. And then it just like, do. And he's just back healed. Like, what? And then Haunter appears and starts laughing and making funny faces in front of Sabrina. And little Sabrina says, she's like, that's not fair. But the bearded man just teleports in as well. And he's like, it's just playing on its own. So it's not against the rules.
I wonder if the bearded man was there the whole time. Just kind of like, in the corner in the dark somewhere, just spying. And just like, all right, now it's time for me to make my entrance. He's like, I got something to say.
And then, I mean, maybe. And then Haunter, follows up his act with an actual bomb. Pulls out a bomb from his mouth. And he's just like you can see the fuse going. And it's like a cutback to Haunter's, like, facial expression. And then it's Sabrina awesome. Back to the bomb.
It's so good.
It is. And then the bomb just, like, goes off. And then when the smoke clears...
Yes. Sabrina cracks a little bit of a smile. Like, you see her, the stereotypical cartoon post-bomb explosion, dirt and, all the soot and everything, like, on them and their hair blown back and everything. But Sabrina kind of, like, cracks a little smile. And as she cracks the smile, the bearded man is like, huh, what's going on? And before you know it, Sabrina and Haunter are just cracking up. Like, they're totally just laughing about the situation. And, we were talking about last time how these ghosts were, like, completely mad, like, off their rocker mental. And,
yep.
It's the best thing because it's like, when Haunter's first messing with Sabrina, he's just kind of like making faces, and then he just opens his mouth and pulls out this lit bomb, and it's like, it's a total, like, cops and robbers style, cannonball little bomb with the fuse. And he's just like sitting there waiting for it to explode, like, doesn't care what's going to happen. And it's hilarious that once it goes off, Sabrina is able to find the humor in it, and I think that's an important callback that we'll get to in a second. But the bearded man, like, he can't believe what's going on. Obviously the only way he's ever seen Sabrina over her whole youth has been, in this destructive psychic mode. So, he's like, I haven't seen her laugh like this, and she started training, as a baby. And he starts crying, and he goes, even as a little girl, she's never seemed this happy. And this is all from the jokes that Haunter was playing. So Ash kind of starts putting two and two together, and you see his gears grinding again, and he's like, wait a second. So if you knew her since before she was a baby, then you must have been the one to take those baby pictures too. Like, he still doesn't get it. Like, it's so over the top. And the bearded man just, like, kind of collapses and falls over with how dense Ash is being.
And it's the same animation with his leg pops up.
Yes.
And it's like a little twitch effect.
But he still doesn't say, look, you dummy, that's my daughter. I'm the dad. And this is all happening, and you're like, wait a second. There was just a match 2 seconds ago. Like, what the heck is going on? Ash is like, I don't know if this is how I wanted this to go. I brought Haunter as an ally, and now he's making friends with the enemy. Like, what the heck is going on? And he's still worried about being turned into a doll. Like, does he have to forfeit? Is this like using 2 Pokemon? And the bearded man points to Kadabra. Kadabra is on the floor laughing. Like, he's taking part in, like, this, all the shenanigans as well. And he says Sabrina and Kadabra are connected telepathically. So what Sabrina is feeling and doing is kind of relayed to Kadabra. Kadabra's the one that's in the battle with Pikachu. And Ash's jaw literally hits the floor because this is almost like a forfeiture on Sabrina's part. The Kadabra is not fit to battle because it's, can't stop laughing. So Ash kind of wins the match. And little Sabrina disappears. And the Pokeball that she's holding, just kind of like hits the ground. Brock and Misty kind of appear out of nowhere, back in, normal forms. And, they kind of recap saying, like, look, they were laughing so hard, they couldn't battle, and the bearded man who, I guess, has the position to be able to do this is like, I declare Ash the winner. And it's just like, that's it. Ash, you won. You did it. Like, not normal means, but you did it. Again, the stars have aligned, in every way besides you just winning the battle straight up, as always.
As always. And it's like, is the bearded man, is he an official ref?
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's
where's
just
his
like,
paperwork?
I declare
he's got a
winner.
license? Because, like, Brock would be able to determine that.
Yes, Brock would have
he's a gym
records.
leader.
Yes.
And same thing with Misty, right?
Yeah.
Because she's one of the, yeah.
Sure.
See? I don't trust that bearded man. And then it cuts to this is like the ending, it cuts to the outside of the gym, and Ash and the gang are saying their goodbyes, walking away. Sabrina, both her parents, and Haunter all waving them off. Everyone's happy. And as they're saying goodbye, Ash is holding his Marsh badge, and he's like, did I really earn this? And Misty backs him up. She's making Sabrina, you made Sabrina laugh into defeat. That was a great, that was a great strategy. Brock chimes in with like, yeah, keep that up and you'll be the funniest Pokemon trainer there ever was. And I mean, so that was a callback to last episode when, he says he will have to use humor.
Right, because he thought he wasn't getting Haunter. He thought he was not going to be able to get a ghost Pokemon. He's like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll have to use humor. So it's ironic that they made a callback to that.
Exactly. And then, so now they're walking down the same sidewalk with all the skyscrapers and whatnot. And they pass the hole in the ground that Team Rocket is in. And there's just a construction truck or cement truck pouring cement into the hole. And Team Rocket is calling for help. And, Ash being Ash, he's like, hey, I think I can hear Team Rocket. And then, Brock and Misty are like, but we have more important things to do. Like, we don't need to worry about that. Like, and honestly, like, after seeing this and, like, seeing Brock's face, like, his head is completely turned. Like, he can probably see them out of the corner of his squinty eye.
Yeah, he's like, leave them there.
He's like, we don't need to help them. Just keep going. Keep walking. Keep walking.
Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
Exactly. And so Misty says, the way to the next stop is the gym in Celadon City. And then the narrator comes on and says, well, their future isn't set in stone. How will Team Rocket escape their cementing? And, and then they're just, you can see the cement, like, filling up, and then they're like, Team Rocket blasting off again, and they're like, just like,
get filled in.
Well, I think, don't they, like, fly out of it?
Do they?
Yeah, they fly out of it.
How?
They're like, yeah, I don't know. They're like Team Rocket blasting off again.
I know they
just
say that. I thought they just got trapped in there. They just they're giving up their fate. Like they accept their fate.
Oh man, I gotta rewatch that. I'm pretty sure they like fly out of it though. I'm like 90% sure.
So this is like the third episode now that Team Rocket has really taken a backseat to, to everything. There's always been some kind of either one-time character or some kind of weird story arc that's kind of taken the place of the direct, PvP element of, Ash versus Team Rocket thing. Like, it's been 3 episodes now, so they got to be coming back soon. I miss Team Rocket.
And I mean, I really like this episode, like the theme song of Team Rocket. It was like an old-fashioned radio that was going on for the music for the motto, at least.
Yeah. This was an interesting episode. I liked the fact that you kind of saw. I liked it because there was this flow of emotion where, you have this super positive and super courageous and super confident Ash, and then he's kind of knocked down a couple pegs to the point where he has to be so humble to give up. And then he kind of has to collect himself and then regain that confidence and then bring the confidence of others in with him and, face his problems again and then, almost face defeat at that point, but not give up and able to win and, succeed through non-traditional means. I think that whole progression of story arc for the episode is really cool. And as a parent, that's something cool that I would want my son to kind of be able to pay attention to.
Yeah, me as well.
Yes, so very, very awesome. Very, very awesome episode. It's just like DJ Khaled. It's like, and another one. And another one. The hits just keep good. It's just another one. Like every episode is good. Like, I'm trying not to be like Chris Hardwick where everything is awesome all the time, but everything is awesome. Every episode there really hasn't been any letdowns yet. Like they just keep pushing through with fun shows. Like I guess that's why the foundation of this show has led for 20 years, I guess.
Yeah, this is a great episode.
Yeah, it's so much fun. So much fun. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, these past episodes have just been like a riot to watch. All right, Ken, do you have a booster?
Yes, I do. I have a Generations booster.
What?
Yep.
I'm still stuck on Sun and Moon base.
But I messed
the new
up.
set?
I messed up how I pulled this out of the packaging. I didn't do the card trick right. The 3 in the back. Dang nabbit. Alright, let's see what I got. And Geodude, my favorite Pokemon. Geodude, Krabby, a Snorlax, yes! Diglett, Swablu, a Max Revive trainer. Oh my gosh, a Haunter. Are you kidding me? That is so awesome. That is so awesome. Dude, a Haunter. We had a Ghastly last time. So cool. A Radiant Collection Altaria. A Water Energy. My reverse is a Zubat. Ooh. And my rare is a Hollow Meowstic.
There you go.
Cool. Very cool. I can't believe there's a Haunter. That's crazy.
Isn't there a Haunter in Sun and Moon?
I'm not sure.
I
think so. Yes, I think so.
Alright, well, I got a Sun and Moon base. Let's see what I can pull. Okay. I have a Litten, a Cosmog, a Ragnarola, a Growlithe, an Alolan Meowth, a Rainbow Energy, a Trumbeak, a Hypno, a Reverse Hollow Drowsy, and a rare Bruxish.
Oh, Bruxish. Like the ugliest Pokemon of all time.
Yeah, like, what is that?
I remember that was when Pokemon Company was first rolling out the Gen 7 stuff and, showing a couple Pokemon at the time, and they released that one. I was like, what is up with this design? It's so weird. Like, I'm kind of uncomfortable looking at it. It's so weird.
Is there a male version of that?
I don't know.
Because that's got some serious lipstick.
It's got some serious lipstick, man. It's no joke. It's in your face and some serious chompers too. Awesome, man. So that was a show. That was awesome. I think that going into the next week is going to be a very important week for Pokemon Go It's going to be interesting to see how Niantic continues communicating with the community, and I think that they've learned a lot in the past week, and I think the communication will remain open and transparent, which I like. So it's going to be interesting to follow that as we go into the into next week. But I don't know. I'm not slowing down a bit. I'm still on board, Niantic. You still got me. Don't worry. We got you back. Got you back.
You got me.
Yeah, that's it. All right, so I'm going to run through a couple little housekeeping bits. As always, you can find everything about this show at gottawatchemall.com. And we are Gotta Watch 'Em All on Twitter. Please email us. Shoot us an email. We want to hear from you at gottawatchemallpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to start building up a little bit of an email segment where we can read your interactions. You know, we've got some really strong fans that are starting to be pretty consistent on Facebook or consistent on Twitter or on Instagram. We got Steve Gamer, we got Mark on Facebook. We got a bunch of fans that have been really consistent. So I want to shout out you guys and thank you so much for all the support. You know, shoot us an email. I'd love to read one of your questions on the air and go over that stuff and you know, just get a little bit more community involvement going on. So shoot us an email. I'm Proud Gamer tweet on the Twitters. Big shout out to Seth Hay for our logo, Chipicrit for the outro music, Grimecraft for the intro music. Links are in the description. And Adam, where can they find you on the Twitters?
On the Twitters, I'm at Phoenix Back for Fire.
And that'll all be linked in the description as well. So thanks so much for listening. We will see you next week. Actually, we'll see you in a couple days. We're going to record on Sunday night again. We'll be back on our normal schedule, so we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Yes. And enjoy. Get out there and play Pokemon Go. Don't give up on the game. It's all good. Yeah. Peace!